Hello, I am Isidora Stojanovic, and I am the principal investigator of the project Valence Asymmetries, the positive, the negative, the good and the bad in language, mind and morality. This project has been awarded an ERC Advanced Grant under grant agreement number 1011-42133, and in this short video I will try to explain what this project is about. Tolstoy famously begins Anna Karenina with the thought that all happy families are alike, while every unhappy family is unhappy in its own way. Now, this project is not about Tolstoy, but it is about the asymmetric behavior between the positive and the negative, the good and the bad, between happiness and unhappiness, virtue and vice, praise and blame. So these asymmetries have been evidenced across disciplines. In psychology, there is the slogan that bad is stronger than good, reflecting the fact that negative events tend to be remembered more vividly and for longer than the positive ones. So you might have a neighbor or a colleague who is in general nice, but there were those few times when they were quite rude, and that's what tends to stick with you. In linguistics, there is a phenomenon known as negative strengthening. So if someone tells you that the food was not good, you're likely to infer that it was pretty bad. However, if they tell you that the food was not bad, you will probably not infer that it was pretty good, but rather that it was neither good nor bad. In empirically driven philosophy, it has been shown that people are much more likely to blame others for the negative side effects of their actions and to consider such side effects as being intentional than for the positive ones. This has come to be known as the Knob effect from the work of Joshua Knob, who first showed this. Now, somewhat surprisingly, these asymmetries have seldom been brought into correspondence, and in general, they are considered to be irrational biases. Now, my project has three overarching goals. First, I want to underscore the fundamental and ubiquitous role of valence across disciplines. Second, understand how these different asymmetries relate to each other. And finally, argue that many valence asymmetries are not irrational biases, but rather key components of the functioning and the architecture of the human mind. To achieve those goals, we have four work packages. Work package 1 is the alpha and the omega of the project. It aims to lay down a conceptual framework within which the more empirical goals of the other work packages will be addressed. So in particular, we will want to understand the notions of value, valence, polarity, and propose a novel account of the positive and negative value, inspired by the work of Galit Sassoon, who suggested that there is something like a conjunctive-disjunctive asymmetry. So in a nutshell, the idea is that for something to be good, it has to meet a required threshold on all the relevant criteria for goodness. So in this sense, it is conjunctive, whereas something counts as bad if there is already one criterion on which it falls significantly below the threshold. Now, in work package 2, we will address valence asymmetries in language and in particular apply this conjunctive-disjunctive asymmetry to account for negative strengthening. So in a nutshell, the idea is that if you are told that something is not good, you know that there is at least one criterion on which this thing falls below the threshold, and then it is easy to make an inferential leap to the idea that it falls significantly below the threshold, hence that it is bad. However, if you are told that something is not bad, you know that on all the threshold it falls a bit above the lower threshold, but from there to infer that it is good, you need to make such inferential leaps for each and every criterion, and this is something much more demanding, hence the asymmetry. In work package 3, we will look at valence asymmetries in morality. Now, in psychology, there is something known as the density hypothesis, and it suggests that positive information is more uniform, hence clustered more densely, than negative information. However, there remains the question as to why positive information is more uniform in the first place. And the conjunctive disjunctive asymmetry gives something of an explanation, because to fall on the positive side, you need to be above the threshold on each and every criterion. On the other hand, to fall on the negative side, one thing might fall on the negative side because it scores very low on one criterion, and another because it scores low on a completely different criterion, hence this diversity. Now, surprising though this may sound, the Greek philosopher Diogenes had a similar idea about virtue. Diogenes thought that for a person to be virtuous, they needed to possess every single virtue, whereas one person can be vicious because they are greedy, another because they are corrupt, and so on. And I'm going to suggest that a similar thing applies to the Nobe effect. Already a single bad action calls for blame, whereas praise requires you to be good in all respects. Finally, work package 4, we look at valence reversals, namely the idea of how something that has normally a certain valence can acquire the opposite one in some context. So, for example, if someone tells you that Park Chan-wook's Old Boy is one of the most disturbing movies, hence it's a masterpiece, they are conveying something positive about the movie by expressing something that should be normally negative, namely that something is disturbing. Now, the theme for this project will consist of 3 postdocs and 1 PhD. The PhD will be co-supervised by Laia Mayol, who is a senior project member from the Pompeu Fabra University, and it will involve a 3-pronged methodology. First and foremost, the project is theoretical and it involves theoretical methods from analytic philosophy, but we will also use formal methods from formal semantics and value theory, as well as empirical methods. There will be 5 sets of experiments and 1 corpus study. To sum up, valence asymmetries have been evidenced in language, mind, morality, but there have been analyzed separately, and this project is arguably a pioneering attempt to look at the valence asymmetries as a broader general phenomenon. So as such, it will lead to an unprecedented cross-fertilization across the different fields. Even more importantly, we will suggest that there may be something of a uniform explanation for many of those asymmetries, namely the conjunctive disjunctive asymmetry between the positive and the negative will shed new light of negative strengthening, the density hypothesis, the virtue-vice asymmetry, the Nobe effect, and many other things. Thank you for listening and stay tuned.